Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here recording episode 118, and today our topic is, should you join a fraternity? So we'll be talking about our experiences as being two members of a fraternity in undergrad. Believe it or not, we were both frat boys, although I do not necessarily enjoy that title. But hey, we can discuss that today as well. And we'll be talking about the process of joining it, why we joined, and maybe giving you some advice if you're thinking about it, or if you're kind of curious what goes on behind the scenes. So we're looking forward to it. And my bro, in more ways than one, because he's also my fraternity brother, Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello, I'm Jared, and I used to be a fraternity boy. I apologize. No, I'm kidding. As far as fraternities go, we'll talk about this later, but ours was pretty chill. And I feel like that's what everyone says, but we mean it.
Yep.
But before we get into that, first,
spread a little love
with some 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Hey, I know you listen on iTunes and Stitcher. I do too. Give us some 5-star reviews because we're great. And because the world needs to know how great we are. Then also, you can talk to us, communicate with us, interact with us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You can email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Give us some untranslatables, which are sayings, idioms, phrases, proverbs that don't really make any sense if you translate them directly to English, but have some meaning. You know exactly what I'm talking about. For example, this is one from the South.
Slipping on gator piss.
Now, it doesn't really make any sense, but when I use it, you'll know exactly what it means.
That is true.
It's good to be here with you. We're both repping our fraternity. You guys can't see it, but this is it. Speaking of which, you could see it if you were watching us on YouTube. Although you'd also see that it was cut off by my computer. So, first, before we really get into the experience of joining fraternities, let's just jump ahead of this real quick. Mm-hmm. And say that, there are all these stereotypes of what it means to be a quote-unquote frat person, a frat boy. Most of them are not good.
Yep.
And here at the Untranslatable Podcast, we're here to dispel myths and all sorts of cultures.
And believe it or not, Jared.
But there's also some truths behind some of those.
There definitely are. But believe it or not, Jared, my grades actually got better after I joined our fraternity. So there's one early myth dispelled right there that your grades will go down the tube if you choose to join Greek life. But we'll get more into that later. But on the topic as well, I've been perusing Reddit as I tend to do sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Where the young people hang out.
That's right. Where the cool and hip kids are is all on Reddit.
That's how you avoid your parents' kids.
That's right. And I have some stories I want to read. But before I get into that, I want to tell you a story, Jared, and our listeners out there. Now, if you have children around, this is a family podcast, but this episode may get a little NSFW, not something for work or for children.
You betcha.
And I'll tell you a story that one of my fraternity brothers told me about a large chapter down south and what they did to initiate their new members, which was, and maybe, I bet you once I start telling you the story, maybe you'll remember. So, these young gentlemen, maybe gentlemen's the wrong term, but these young guys
hooligans
were in a room together, and the active members or the brothers of the fraternity brought a goat into the center of the room.
Oh yeah.
You know the story. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they bring this goat into the center of the room, and they say no one will be able to join this fraternity until someone has sex with this goat. Mm-hmm. So they sit in the room, they wait for hours. They get tired. They're getting hungry. One guy says, you know what? Fine. I'll do it. Don't know how he does it, but he does it. And
goats are, they don't seem like they take very easily, though. And they're kickers, too.
Who knows? Anyways, guy ends up doing it. At least this is how the story goes. Guy ends up doing it. And then the brothers come in and they say, all right, all of you can go to initiation. You're a goat fucker, and we don't accept goat fuckers at our fraternity. And they kicked him out of the house.
Yeah. And
they banned him from the fraternity. So be very careful which fraternities you decide to join if that is what you decide to do.
What would you do in that situation?
Well, I can tell you what. I wouldn't be the one banging the goat. I can tell you that much.
So what you're saying is you'd be on your way to initiation.
That's right. Now, I don't know what I would have done, and we're lucky we never had.
Tell you what, I'm joining that fraternity.
That's right. But, and our situation was a little different, too, going to a smaller school as well. But anyways.
Yeah, you're a little more exposed.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But let's actually, you know what? Before we get to Reddit, no, actually, we'll save it. Never mind. We'll save it.
Okay.
So let's get into some Reddit stories. So obviously there are a lot of stories. And the main thing that a lot of people hear about in the news about fraternities is hazing. And what hazing is basically mistreating or abusing your prospective new members, whether it be humiliating them by making them wear crazy outfits or forcing them to drink copious amounts of alcohol or all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to read some of these from Reddit.
Classic kid torture.
Absolutely. So here you go. So this is kind of a funny story, and I kind of like this one. And these are all pretty short. So here we go. So this is from Reddit, according to a guy named Big Schwartz. And an entire frat got expelled after Rush Week, which is the week when all the new members are going to become members. And because some person in the fraternity accidentally left the door open, which at this university gave the cops the go-ahead to walk inside. And when the cops got in there, they found the pledges, or the new future members, prospective members, face down in puddles of muddy water in the basement, begging for mercy. Thoughts, Jared?
What do you mean? What do you mean face down?
I mean lying face down on the floor in puddles of water, muddy water.
Oh my gosh! You said this was one of the funny ones.
No, this was just one of the short ones.
Oh, okay. It's interesting. Also, I'm taken aback by that comment about the cops. Just because the door is open means you can walk in. Is that a rule?
I think it depends on the campus and what their laws are, but it might be. Yeah.
Is it like probable cause or something?
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
Damn.
I'm not sure.
I wonder if they were probably using like I mean, obviously you don't know the answer to this, but if they were using like one of those kiddie pools or something.
Right. Sorry, I'm reading.
Yeah, I'm looking at your face.
Oh, I'm not going to read that one aloud.
Oh, come on.
No.
I want to know.
Oh, dude, you really want me to read this one?
Is it like sexually gross? I don't want sex stuff
No,
on
it's
here.
just terrible.
Okay.
I'm not going to read it. It's terrible. It's too bad.
Fine.
Oh, Jared, must be 18.
That's always a good sign.
I am 18, so we'll click yes. So here we go. So this on the Reddit right here, it says log on to your throwaways. Edit. When I usually post a Reddit question, I get a grand total of 10 responses. I definitely did not expect to get this much attention. I guess I must have been feeling nostalgic earlier, thinking about when I pledged. So thank you. So the Reddit here is people who pledged fraternities or sororities. What were the crazy things that happened? My favorite was when we got all the pledges to be... Ooh, this is kind of cool. We got all the pledges to be pieces of a chess set, and we played chess with them, and everyone loved it.
I like that.
I like these too. I like the wholesome ones.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this could also very easily be viewed as hazing. They probably made them dress up or whatever. I will say this, though, Jared. I'm a terrible chess player, and this would help me learn the rules of chess much quicker. Let me just say that. Here's another one. We did something similar. At the beginning of the pledging process, we had the pledges each day buy a pack of Pokemon cards. We then assigned them each Pokemon and an attack move. Randomly throughout the semester, we had them battle each other. That's kind of cool. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, here we go. So, and this is where we're going to start to get a little bit into the hazing, but, it sadly, in many fraternities, it is a part of life. I will say this, though. We had it really good. The only thing, I don't even really think you can consider it hazing. I mean, maybe you could if you really were sensitive about it, was we had what we would call, like a pledge question, which an active member would ask you to do something. And so I remember the pledge questions I asked people. One of them was I had one of the pledges go with me to Taco Bell and have Taco Bell with me. I think we may have had them pay for it, but it had to be like under like $2-3 or something like that, right?
Sure.
Like, you couldn't take them there and force them to spend $40 on Taco Bell.
Also, $40 is the entire menu.
Right, that's true. So here we go. But this one could be considered maybe hazing a little bit. Dressed about 6 pledges in ballerina type clothing, stuff to get them embarrassed. Handcuffed them all together in a circle facing outwards. Drove them a couple miles from school, about 4 miles.
So now we're starting to cross the line a little bit.
Exactly. And told them they had a 2-hour walk back to campus. It's a rural farm area, so pretty much just had to walk straight. After 30 minutes to an hour, the frat brothers drove back to tell them it was a joke and they could get a ride back to campus. Okay. All right. Ride back to campus. Except that they couldn't find the same group of
I was just
dudes
about to say.
who were handcuffed together and all wearing pink who would have been taking the road back to campus.
They were handcuffed together and they couldn't find some of them?
Let me finish reading the story. We'll see. Frat brothers drive for hours looking for them and never find where they went. Eventually, they freak out, fear the worst, and head back to campus.
Okay.
They go to get help finding lost pledges in the countryside, only to see all the pledges back and safe. Turned out the pledges walked up to the closest farm, had a good laugh with the farmer, and the farmer drove them back to campus in his pickup. Now, that is great. That is the way you do it, people. These pledges outsmarted the system.
Yes. Yeah, they turned their game into... Yeah. Right. I don't like those shame ones.
Right. I don't either. The shame ones are
also
stupid.
Even above that, I guess I forgot to mention the fact that they were straining them handcuffed together. And 30 minutes to an hour, that's a long time. Like, what makes you... Like, they assume that you're serious, so they're going to start going places. Like, why would you think that they're where you started? They're like, oh, we got to get back.
Exactly.
Let's start moving.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Who just stands there for 30 minutes doing nothing?
Stupid people. Who knows? This one's also interesting. So there's also this concept in man, I feel like we're airing out all the bad today, but hey, that's what we're here for, I guess, right?
What we're here for.
A lot of fraternities do have this thing called Hell Week, where we didn't have this at our fraternity, thankfully, but there were a few that did on our campus at Albion.
Do you want to name them?
I'm not going to name them.
I'll name them.
One of them I don't think is even there anymore.
I think they're back.
Are they back? Okay.
I think so.
I'm not going to name them. But Hell Week is basically where the pledges go and they live in the fraternity for 1 week. And I've heard that at least one of them, not going to say the names, but I heard that they had 3 choices that day. It was either shower, sleep, or eat. And each day they could only choose one.
Yeah.
Which is that I would definitely say that's a form of hazing for sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty terrible. We never did that.
No, I would definitely never shower that week, though, if I were...
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I probably wouldn't do it, to be honest with you.
Right.
I'd probably just lie and say...
Well, I think they usually they watch these kids like a hawk. But the craziest
I can get away.
I think it would have been fun, though, if we would have had... I don't think we ever had like a thing where you had to go live there, but I think that would have been cool to do for a couple of days just to see what it's like.
Like a sleepover kind of situation?
Yeah, kind of like what we do here once in a while.
Why wouldn't we do that? That's weird that we didn't.
Yeah, who knows? But here we go. So here's another one from Reddit.
Okay.
My sister's friend told me a story that always stuck. She picked her boyfriend up from the last day of Hell Week, which is why I explained the concept of Hell Week for this story, which is the last week of hazing before initiation. That's debatable. He said it wasn't that bad at first. The pledges had to drink a lot of beers. After most of them were feeling pretty buzz drunk, the actives then put them in a dark room, throwing a strobe light, and brought out a jigsaw puzzle. They were not allowed to leave until it was finished.
That sounds like
4 hours.
That sounds like legitimate torture tactics.
It does, doesn't it? The strobe light with the jigsaw puzzle took them 4 hours. Now my question is, how many pieces was this? Right? You give them 100 pieces, 1,000 pieces. That would take them all day, right?
Yeah, or it's like I don't know. It's like a starry night sky, so you can't really put it.
Oh, that would be awful. That would be awful.
That's insane. Who thinks of that?
I don't know.
That sounds like a way to make people go crazy. Like, I'm surprised there weren't like fights happening in this dark room.
Now, this is an interesting
Get out of my way, Trevor!
Right. Now, this is an interesting
Please don't go there.
Is on Reddit, which is the messed up thing that a lot of the fun stuff you said in this Reddit thread, and also stuff we'll be talking about, is probably considered hazing now, depending on the university. You know, making people dance or whatever, or making them go talk to girls, guys, whatever, would probably not be allowed. And scavenger hunts, which we also had, are prohibited at
I love scavenger hunts,
school.
though.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We've also had some pretty serious hazing problems at some places, according to this person on Reddit. So yeah, I think there's a fine line, you know, and at least when I was an active member of our fraternity, my fine line was, would I be comfortable doing this? If I was comfortable, you know, like the Taco Bell thing, you know, I would have happily gone and gotten a bite to eat with one of the active members when I was still in my fraternity. No problem. I probably would have also been fine paying for it if it was, you know, under $10 or something. You know what I mean? And so I always try to keep that rule in mind, right? Like, and even if it's even if stuff's a little humiliating, you know, like I was asked, one of my questions was I had to dress up kind of nice and talk with a British accent and like serve drinks one evening, right? And you know what? It was fun.
House.
Yeah, at the house.
Yeah.
And I had a great time doing it. You know? and things like that. People would be like, oh, that's so humiliating, or that's hazing. It's like, I was okay with it.
Well, I think it's also giving the option, because I always felt like we had the option of saying no. Like, I never felt like I was in a situation where I couldn't say, like I had to do something. Even if it was something ridiculous. I didn't do much ridiculous stuff.
Right. We didn't have a ton. One of the best pledge questions, and we can get into what that is later, that one of our fraternity brothers had was, he was given a nickname, and whenever someone called him by his real name, he would have to correct them and say, no, my name is...
Tuna.
Baby Tuna.
Oh, right. Yeah,
no, sir.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, in one of his classes, they had a couple active members, which are, fraternity members, current fraternity members, and then my buddy who was pledging our fraternity. And the professor called on him and, called his name. And he said, no, sir, it's Baby Tuna. And then he answered the question, sat down like nothing happened, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
And people still, I think, to this day from our fraternity call him that
I think that's
nickname.
his name on Twitter.
It might be.
Yeah.
It very well might be. And that's the thing. Like, jokes aside, I will say this. It does really bring you closer. All the goofy shit you do in a fraternity, it can be a lot of fun. I think that's the thing, though. This episode, should you join a fraternity? I would say you should join a place where you're going to be happy and know that these guys, they're okay with having fun and goofing around, but they don't take it too far. And I think that's where a lot of these stereotypes come from, is when they take it way too far.
I think we might be the anomaly.
We might be.
I think there's more. And I don't know. I haven't read the stats recently, but I think that there might be more taking it too far than there is sort of having a fun, welcoming environment.
Right. And I think the reason
especially with the bigger schools, I think that makes a big difference.
The bigger schools are completely different. Yeah. I think
everyone knew everyone at our school, and it was too much of a. There wasn't really a space to secretly do things like that at our campus. It was harder.
Right. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And word gets around fast in a small school.
It definitely does. I think the other thing, too, about this hazing, I think hazing probably initially started as a way to pledge your, show how loyal, what are you willing to do for the fraternity? Which I think there are better ways than embarrassing and humiliating acts to show your loyalty to the fraternity.
Honestly, right? I don't think I was that loyal to our fraternity.
Really?
No.
Okay.
Like I'm saying, I mean, by that I mean like I wasn't willing to. I wouldn't be willing to do half of the stuff that people were made to do just to join.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have either, I guess. So in that regard, you're right. Absolutely.
I mean, maybe once I was there, I was, but even then, I still don't think I really was. Right. I'm not a school spirity kind of person in general.
Right.
Like even when I was like I'm not one to like be a go team kind of person. So I think that also kind of translated to the like I almost, and maybe this is foolish, but I almost felt it like a little like felt like it was a little laughable to like get excited about some of the activities, even though some of them I did seriously enjoy, and some of them I was just like, this is just
right.
Like mixers, I did not like mixers.
I got lucky. I usually am not a huge fan of mixers either, but one of the mixers we had that was like a fancier dinner date. Do you remember this? We had like steak and stuff.
Okay.
And my dinner date for the mixer was great. She was awesome. We had a wonderful conversation. She was super nice.
I think that might have been my girlfriend.
It was not your girlfriend.
Was it not?
Oh, your girlfriend's sorority, you mean?
Yeah.
I think it was. Was it DG?
Yeah. Then
I think it was DG. Yeah. Were you paired with your girlfriend for the mixer?
I don't remember. Now that I think about it, I have no idea.
Probably not. Then
I have no idea.
It's more fun if you're not. But yeah, I will say this though. I don't like the notion that a lot of people say you buy your friends when you join a fraternity, because I think you and I both had plenty of friends and we didn't have to join a fraternity in order to have these friends. Maybe at bigger schools it's different.
Well, honestly, that's why that's why I joined, was because I had no plan on joining a fraternity. I thought it was kind of stupid.
Yep.
But I joined a semester after everyone in my grade did, and it's really only because I think I saw it more as like a cheaper living situation, And all my friends from freshman year, like most of our whole,
All almost rushed our fraternity.
joined that same fraternity. So I was like, well, all my friends are already there. So I wasn't buying my friends. I went there because
Yeah.
my friends were already
We're
there.
already there, right? And we had our own kitchen. We had a cook that made us meals. The meal plan was significantly cheaper than the meal plan at the cafeteria.
It did. One thing I really did like about it was we didn't have RAs. We were self-sufficient in that sense.
Yep.
But it really didn't get, like, during the week from Monday to Thursday, it really didn't get that crazy.
It didn't.
Like, and I think the way the rooms were set up, like, it was pretty easy to disconnect from the craziness.
Absolutely. Actually, fun fact for you, Jared. How long do you think it took me when we were freshmen until I went out? Like the first time I went out, like drinking, partying.
First weekend.
No. Guess again.
Before you even got to school, you snuck
I
in.
didn't even go out until October.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We started in August, so like
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah. Yep. And some of that was because when we were freshmen, they really stressed, well, you're going to get fined. You're going to have all these problems if you get caught underage
Oh,
drinking.
that sounds just like this.
It
Now
scared
this
the
makes
shit
more
out of me,
sense.
Yep. So I didn't go. And then one of our
Oh my
buddies,
gosh.
one of our buddies, John, in our hallway said, "Hey, I met these really cool guys. You should come join me." And I was like, "Well, all right." And I did.
This is how we end up in the system,
That's
John.
right. That's
Are you
right.
crazy?
Yeah, come on, John. I don't have
come with me.
$700. Yeah. But yeah, and that's what
I'll
that's
protect
what
you.
got started. But we'll get more into that later. I think now it's time to.
I'm with you.
Spread a little love.
So, my first one, actually, both of my shout outs today are to two different countries, and they're both for environmental reasons. So, number one goes out to Ethiopia because they have broken the world record and they have planted more than 350 million trees in 12 hours.
12 out. Wait, hold on.
Yep.
350 million trees
Yep.
in 12 hours.
Yep. Ethiopia
Would
planted.
they just like shoot it out of an airplane or something?
I'm not sure.
How do you what?
Let me read this to you. We'll find out. Maybe we'll find out.
Jeez.
Ethiopia planted a
I don't mean to yell at you,
record-breaking.
I'm sorry.
You're good. 353 million trees in 12 hours on July 29th. Initially setting out to plant 200 million trees, the nation exceeded the goal by more than 153 million. India had previously held the world record in 2016.
I think we talked about that.
Yes, India had more than 800,000 volunteers to plant more than 50 million trees. Within the first 6 hours, Prime Minister Abiy announced that 150 million trees had already been planted. Hashtag Ethiopia. The 6-hour result shows that we're halfway to our goal. Congratulations for this milestone as we all plant our print for a green legacy. So I think that's great. Millions of Ethiopians were invited to take part in the challenge. The tree planting was part of Green Legacy, which we've also talked about on the shout-out section, a reforestation initiative spearheaded by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Launched in May 2019, the Green Legacy is an effort to combat environmental degradation, build resilience, and transition into a more green society. So I think that's great.
I like that they make a competition out of it too. Like I feel like
makes it
they're
fun.
like, "Oh, India, you think you can plant a lot of trees?
Right.
200 million, that's cute.
Right.
Get the plane."
Absolutely. Speaking of India, my next shout out goes out to India.
Okay.
Because they are
They
to
planted
add
400 million trees.
That's right. No, because they are going to add 5,000 plus electric buses in 65 cities in their ongoing massive push for greener transportation.
I wonder if they're going to use BYD, a popular Chinese company.
Maybe. You never know. But I think that's great. So an Indian government committee has sanctioned 5,645 electric buses for 65 cities and one of the largest electric bus initiatives the world has seen outside of China. So there you go. So yeah, so shout out to India. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And I hope other countries will follow suit and
Yeah.
start to plan.
There are some places. I know Denver has some electric buses like in the city.
Okay. Nice.
They're starting to be a thing. But yeah, no, that's cool. Is that are those all your shout outs?
They are.
Are we ready to really get into the meat of this podcast? What we really come here
we
for?
are. I think we are, Jared.
Okay,
So, mind if I start us off?
please.
I have an Urdu one for you today, a little different.
Urdu. That's like
What they speak in Pakistan.
okay.
And it is Bains hai nahi magar dahi pele hi bechne lag gai, which means you don't have the cow yet, but you're thinking of selling its yogurt.
Oh, it's like count your eggs before they've hatched.
That's right. Don't overestimate, overthink, and Well, what they say here is basically don't overestimate, overthink, and overshare your ideas. But I would say very similar to counting your chickens before they hatch.
I'm a big fan of the don't overshare your ideas thing. I'm more of a person that's like, don't bring it up until it's already happened. Don't talk about it. Talk about the successes and stuff.
Right.
I'm a big proponent of that. My first one is Japanese, and it is me no naka ni ire temo itaku nai, and it means it won't hurt to put him or her in my eye.
Won't hurt to put him or her in my eye. Can you give me a clue?
Sure. You have a Basset Hound dog.
I do.
Named Prudence, and I imagine you and your family are very fond of her, and you find her very adorable. You it's so much so that it won't even hurt if you put her in your eye.
Oh, it's kind of like we could say, like, I could eat you up. Like, you're cute, you're adorable.
I think so. I mean, yes, it is, yes. But I think that what they're getting at is the phrase signifies
You
that
like looking at it.
you love the person to bits and is a drastic declaration of your affection. I think it's
see.
sort of like, you know, how like you use hyperbole to
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, like a big exaggeration to show.
Yeah, it's like I like looking at you so much that I just want to put you in my eye and hold you there.
That's fair. Well, Jared, I got to stick with challenging you with Spanish, so I got a Spanish
Por
one for
favor.
you. ¿Quién te ha dado vela en este entierro? Which means, who gave you the candle in this funeral?
Oh, I like that. Like, who died and made you boss?
That's not what that means.
Oh, it's not? Oh. That's what it sounds like it should mean.
Right.
Who gave you the candle in this funeral? Who let you, like, who allowed you to speak while you speaking?
Very good, yeah. Yeah, the equivalent is, who said you could intervene?
So is it like, I wonder if that goes back to some sort of old school thing where, like, at funerals, the one talking would hold a...
Could be, yeah.
Hold a candle or something.
Sounds like something they do in fraternities, too.
Yeah, while they're passing around the goat.
Oh, jeez.
My next one's Thai, and it goes like this. Kracho con rua. And that literally means bamboo basket with a leaky bottom.
Bamboo basket with it's a good visual. Just trying to think how to explain this visual to...
Now, I have an example for
Okay,
you.
let's hear it.
We like to, you and I have a lot of mutual friends. One of them, we often talk about how he is a bamboo basket with a leaky bottom. And
Can you give me the first name of the friend?
we both like to travel with him, and sometimes it can be difficult because he is a bamboo basket with a leaky bottom. And you're a teacher. And so when you're living in Czech Republic, you were living on a very limited limited budget as a teacher.
Oh,
But one of our friends had a...
got that leaky bamboo basket.
Yeah.
I feel you. Okay. So this would be...
what is it? Come on.
It's just somebody who is willing to spend their money. They're just...
Yeah.
Making it
we
rain.
actually have a word for this that I like this word.
What is it?
Being a spendthrift.
Oh, really? Spendthrift.
I like that word because it it kind of sounds like you're being thrifty with your money, but it actually means you spend a lot of money.
You're spending a lot of money. Okay. I got one more for you, Jared. And we'll end, at least my untranslatables, with some français.
Okay.
La cigare est au bout des lèvres. Which means the cigar is at the tip of the lips.
It's like the words at the tip of my tongue.
Nope.
Cigars at the tip of your lips.
Nope. Different body part.
Your butt lips? I'm sorry.
I mean, you're not far.
Slipping on
You're actually not far off, Jared.
Oh. Does it mean you're pregnant?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. You'd say that you would. You'd say this if you had to beeline it to the bathroom.
Oh, you really have to pee?
You're getting closer.
We're beelining it to the bathroom.
What else? Would
Oh,
you do?
I get it. I get it now. If you really have to take a number 2, come on.
Yeah,
Chad.
yeah, I have to poop. It's a French phrase for I have to poop.
Now it makes
Cigar is
sense.
at the tip of the lips. It's like what we say here with the turtle head. You know?
Oh, so when I said butt lips, I was right.
Yeah, you were. I said you were right. Yeah.
I thought you were joking for
Nope.
some reason.
Nope.
We've really been on a romance language kick today.
We have, haven't we?
My next one is Italian.
Nice.
And it goes, braccia rubate all'agricoltura. And I'm sure you know what that last word is.
Culture.
Agriculture.
Oh, agriculture. Whoops.
Agricoltura.
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
Arms stolen from agricultural work.
So is that just like hard labor?
That's not what the untranslatable means.
No?
It doesn't mean hard labor.
Okay.
Arms stolen.
Like working hard? No.
Think about it, though. So agricultural work is considered hard work.
Yep.
And they're saying arms stolen from Well, that doesn't really... See, I have a problem with this untranslatable, so I'll actually help you out a little bit.
Okay.
So we have a similar saying for... Let me think about this for a second. I don't like this one, but I thought it was interesting. So arms stolen from agricultural work. I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a hint, but then we'll talk about it after we figure it out. So essentially, it's someone that, say you're working in an office and your boss is...
Okay, wait. Is it to take credit for someone else's work?
No.
Okay.
No. But keep guessing if you think you get it as I'm explaining it. So your boss, you always have to follow behind your boss, and your boss is just like a... Well, I'll just explain it now. It essentially refers to someone doing something intellectual when they clearly don't have a clue of what they're doing.
Oh, funny. Okay.
Basically, they'd be better off working in a farm, is what it's getting at.
I see. Okay.
That's why I was having trouble with it, because in my mind, working on a farm, whoever said that was easy?
Right. That is not easy.
As far as I'm concerned, that's like
That's very hard work.
Hard work, and you do have to, like, it's kind of complex, too.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like, that's why I found that untranslatable weird. I was like, I get what you're getting at, but who here has ever considered, who's saying farm work is easy?
Right. I would agree. I would agree 100%.
I don't want an idiot working on doing my farm work.
Me either. That's for sure. Well, buddy, shall we get into...
find a lot of idiots.
Maybe, potentially.
You betcha.
Ideally not. But yeah, so let's get into the topic. Should you join a fraternity? Mm-hmm. And I think the key thing here is you have to really get to know the people there and the culture there, right? Because you have to understand how will this affect your life as a student. I would say for the most part, unless you join a really bad fraternity, it will probably improve your social standing, or at least you'll, have
What do you mean social
parties.
standing?
You'll have like a lot of parties and you'll meet a lot of people. You'll
Okay,
get to know a
social
lot of
standing is
people.
such an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, maybe that's the wrong way to
Sound
put
a
it.
little like classist or something.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, no, I'm not
like
trying to go that way.
click-wise at school. It's like you'll be way cooler.
Well, that's the weird
actually
thing.
kind of true.
That's the weird thing, though, man. Like when I went to grad school at MSU, you could always tell exactly who the sorority girls were, and they were only interested in fraternity guys.
You mean the undergrad people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like once they were in grad school, they still
No.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get that.
And the funny thing is, my dad rushed a fraternity and dropped out, and both of my uncles were in fraternities at Eastern Michigan University. And I had, when I initially started undergrad, I thought the same thing everybody else does. You watch these movies like Animal House and all these movies about fraternities, and you think they're all idiots. You think all they do is party all the time. And I thought, no, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to join a fraternity for college.
No, that is not what I want to do.
That's right. But then ended up...
Do you really, were you really, and be honest with me, were you really thinking this responsibly when you were trying to make this decision? Like, you sound like someone that's sitting their children down right now, trying to convince them not to, like, this is a very responsible choice, young Timmy. Think about what you're doing right now. Or were you really thinking like that?
I really did think quite a bit about it, because it's a big decision, and
Well, because I didn't want to join either. But the reason I didn't want to join wasn't really for these responsible reasons. It was just more just like a stereotype thing. Like I didn't want to be part of that that quote unquote scene. You know,
I feel you.
It never had a good reputation. It always, you know, you hear that you just think like just your American Pie-esque stereotypes, and it's like I'm not that. That's not how I roll.
Right.
And so that was more my thing. I wasn't concerned about I was concerned about my grades, but not related to the fraternity part of it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was just a matter of getting to know the guys and thinking about, okay, do I actually see myself living here and being happy here? Mm-hmm. And the other thing was, too, as you mentioned at the top of the show, you know, I think 8 or 9 guys from our hall, and we were all pretty close, I would say, in our hall, ended up rushing our fraternity. Mm-hmm. And so that was also definitely another influence.
Yep.
But I think a lot of it had to do with the class ahead of us. I really liked them. I played music with them. I hung out with them. And I really got along well with them. And so, but before we even talk about some of this, let's talk about the process a little bit. So at least, you know, and the process could be very different at different schools, different fraternities.
Well, it's already different in the sense that I think at most bigger schools you can pledge in the first semester. When ours, you have to wait at least the second semester,
which I think is good. I think you shouldn't rush into it. I think it's good having that
rush.
I didn't even do that on purpose, but hey, I'll take credit. Pun incredibly intended. Why not? But yeah, you shouldn't rush into rushing a fraternity or pledging a fraternity because I personally you're going to be living with these guys for the rest of your time in undergrad unless you leave the fraternity, which is also kind of a complicated process, I think.
Yeah.
And so for me, though, the way it works, at least at our school when we went to Albion was, you'd get to know guys in different fraternities, and then you would get what they call a bid, which is basically an invitation to join the fraternity, right? And so, and the way you get a bid is you just get to know the guys, and if they like you and you like them, they'll give you a bid.
It's surprisingly easy. You just have to show up at the house a couple times,
exactly,
and not be a complete idiot.
Right.
Not to show up. Excuse me, that's not true. You have to actually make an effort to be friends with people, or which I didn't do, which is part of the reason. Well, that's not part of the reason why I didn't pledge the first semester, but yeah, you actually have to actively try to at least make it look like you're interested.
Right. And see what happened with me, Jared.
It's very political.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it is. And as I'm sure you can easily imagine, Jared, and maybe some of our listeners can as well, is after I went out that one night with John, I was hooked. Mm-hmm. I was going out, to other fraternities as well.
Wow.
And I had, the funny thing was...
This really is your drop.
Many friggies.
That's true. That is true. The thing about it was, though, is that I had members of different fraternities in my prospective classes and majors, right? So I was a German music double major. So I had a guy from, our fraternity that was a music major, guitar major actually, guy from another fraternity who was also a guitar major. So I got invited over there. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, Jared, because as you mentioned, it's not really that difficult to get a bid.
I didn't get any.
I got a bid for, yeah, you did. You got a bid from Delt. You wouldn't have joined our fraternity if you would have.
I meant freshman year when everyone did.
Gotcha. So I got a bid from I think 3 or 4. Let's see, Delt, Teak, Sigma Chi. Maybe that's it. 3. Delt, Teak, Sigma Chi. I think that's it. Maybe. Yeah. And it was only because of really my major. The president of Sigma Chi at the time
Chats is really cool, I think is what it really is.
I'm not so sure
Walking
about that.
into class with the sunglasses on.
That's right, every day.
Sup.
But yeah, and so that was, but see, for me though, it was difficult for me because, not only do you have social fraternities where you can live, but you also, in many places, you have professional and academic fraternities. Mm-hmm. And at least where we went to school, you could join the professional or academic fraternities your first semester. So I joined Phi Mu Alpha, which is a music fraternity. And the majority of the guys in the music fraternity were Teaks.
Now, I have 2 questions for you. The first one is, before you joined or went to college, were you familiar with these styles of fraternities that were more of like social groups rather than.
I had no idea.
I mean, not social groups, but more group meeting situations rather than like living together.
I had no idea that existed until I got to Albion.
I don't think I did either.
Right, and then they had this event. I forget what it was called.
What do you mean?
They had this event where all the different clubs and fraternities had their own tables. Brit Bash, right?
Oh yeah.
And so they had this
like at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, and that's how I got to know the guys in the music fraternity, and yeah, so I joined them first, and I think maybe that's what also maybe eased it in for me a little bit to join a social fraternity, because I was kind of like, well, I'm already part of this academic one. Only difference is I'll be living with these guys.
And they're all in fraternities too, so you see how these people interact with each other.
Right.
Now, let me ask you this. Speaking of interacting with each other, what is sort of the interfraternal relationship like between different fraternities?
I think what do you mean? Do you mean
like is there sort of like a Sharks and what's the other Jets or what it
all the different families, you mean?
No. That was a bad example. I meant I didn't even think about that. I meant more like Shark from the what's that movie West Side Story?
I've never seen it.
Okay, well anyway, like is it
clicky? Is that what you're trying to say? Or
but no, in between different fraternities, do they get along with each other? Is it like this person, so I would never hang out with this sort of person?
Oh, you mean in my music fraternity that had people of other social fraternities, or do
I
you
just mean in general? In
general, I think it really depends. I think it really depends on the place. Depends how big the school is. Depends what the fraternities think of themselves and how they interact with the other fraternities. Right. I'm not going to say which fraternity we didn't always get along with, but.
Was that true though? Was there actual not getting along? Actually, there was some
stuff that went down. But
yeah, I forgot about some windows.
Yeah, there was some stuff that went down. I may or may not have stole a Christmas tree one time with one of my roommates from one of the fraternity's living rooms.
That's hilarious.
Good times. That photo's floating around somewhere on Facebook too. That was a crazy night. But
remember that big piece of meat as well?
Yes,
I forgot about that.
Oh, I got that picture somewhere on my phone as well. Good times. But I would say for the most part, it was pretty civil where we went because it was so small. You kind of had to be.
It's harder to get away with stuff.
Exactly. Whereas I think the bigger universities, they can be a little snootier about it. Right. And where we went to school, they were all in the same area, same vicinity. So like you literally couldn't escape them. Our neighbors were all other fraternity houses.
Yeah. And you could essentially see into their house.
Well, what was funny was my window was facing, one of the other fraternities. And on nights when I didn't want to I was lazy, didn't want to take the 2-minute walk to the gym, I would lift in my room. And it was dark out, so I would use the window as a mirror. And so what's funny is the guys across the way would mimic, my movements. And it was really funny, but I didn't care,
Okay.
But, stuff like that is kind of fun.
Yeah,
It's funny. And
I mean, it is like a giant sleepover, let's be honest.
That's true.
Like it's essentially 3-4 year sleepover that you're having.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's a great way to really develop those relationships with people. I have to say, obviously, I think Vienna brought us closer than being in a fraternity together. But after Vienna, it was super convenient. I'd walk down the hall and there you were. So you're right. And it really is, unless you don't get along with a lot of your fraternity brothers or sorority sisters, it is like living in a house with all your good friends.
Yeah.
Which is great.
So, all right, you get the bid, and that's already sort of like it's sort of a production. Everyone, most of the people from the fraternity will come to your door, and when you knock on your dorm room door, and then they'll cheer and hand you someone will be like, on behalf of blah, 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 we like to send you a,
and they're
I messed it up.
They're dressed up in suits usually.
Dressed up in suits. The untranslatable owl. By the way, I didn't realize there was an owl picture right on the side of that. I need to remember to get a picture of that.
It's destiny.
Remind me to get a picture of that. You're going to forget, but that's okay.
Hey, Joe, get a picture of that.
So, and then they all cheer, and it was personally, I didn't think I even wanted to join a fraternity freshman year when this is happening, but like you, my roommate and friend Brad was also a very social, outgoing person.
Yes, he was.
So he was getting bids all night. So a couple times, I don't think he was there because he might have been at swim practice or something.
Oh, that must have been awkward.
So a couple times I had to answer it and be like, yeah, hey, could you give this to Brad? And we're like, yeah, okay,
Right.
bye.
The funniest thing though for me though, talking about bids, is I got a bid from one of the guys at Teak, who was in my music fraternity, and I think he made it a point, to give it to me because I liked him and I knew him and everything like that. He was a music major, and I told him, hey man, like, I don't think I'm going to join, but if I do, I'll probably join Delton. He literally like handed me the bid, and I told him that because I want to be upfront with him. And he was just like,
Very
fuck.
honest of you. All of this sounds kind of foolish, though, doesn't it?
I mean, a little bit, but there's formality in all sorts of different things. We have a lot of goofy formality within government as well.
I just don't think I like the like, especially because our campus was so small, and like the sort of quote unquote party scene was sort of centralized around fraternities, which might not technically be the case at bigger schools, which I'm sure, obviously
At MSU, it definitely wasn't.
Fraternities have party scenes, but there's so many other ways, and more people live in houses and apartments.
Right. Well, I think the other problem is, too, where we went, there also wasn't a very big bar scene.
Right.
And plus, bar scene, that's only really the older juniors and the seniors, and that's it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so you get the bid.
Mm-hmm.
You either accept or decline the bid.
Yeah.
And then, at least where we went, you had to sign the card that they gave you and turn it into the office.
Right, like the Greek life office.
Exactly. So they were aware who was going where. And then after that, that's kind of where the fun starts to begin, I would say. And at least in our fraternity, we had a weekly meeting where we had to learn about the facts and history about the fraternity, which I really enjoyed, and the meetings were kind of fun.
Yeah, that stuff's actually interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was really great. And then what we had to do as pledges or prospective members of the fraternity was we had to interview. I think it was 10 interviews or something like that. I think
you have to get essentially you have to try to get to everyone.
Was it ever? Okay, I thought it was only 10, but okay. But yeah, so then you had to interview the active members. But the fun part about this, and this is what I really enjoyed about our fraternity, is you could come up with the questions yourself. So you could have it be as boring and vanilla as you want.
What's your major?
What's your major? Or you could ask crazy questions, like fuck, marry, kill.
That's a classic.
Billy, Joe, and Fred, or whatever.
And it would be fun too, because sometimes, like, if people were in the dining room, they we'd be talking about the questions, or or trying to come up with pledge questions. Is that what we called it?
Yeah. And so pledge questions were basically at the end of the interview. In order to get things signed off, you would basically give the pledges a request. So, like I said, one of my pledge questions, I had to, wear nicer clothes and talk with a British accent, which was a horrendous British accent, by the way, for an evening, which was fun. I enjoyed it. And I think they called me like Chives or Jeeves or like some goofy British butler name, and
Chives.
And what I was told, one of the first people I interviewed, they said, basically you can say no to these if it's too extreme or whatever, which I think every fraternity should give the choice. First of all,
here's where I think the closest we got to crossing a line, and it was you still very much felt like you weren't actually forced to do something, getting trapped.
Oh yeah,
but it also it went both ways though.
Right, and that was a fun thing. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it, but you already said it, so we'll get into it.
Listen, I don't care.
So getting trapped.
Who from our fraternity even listens to this, besides for Brad, who doesn't care either?
That's a good question.
I don't even think he still listens. I see the states.
That's true. We'll see. Anyways, so getting trapped would be if you were a pledge and you were in a room with 3 fraternity members, right?
Oh, I thought it was 5.
Was it
5 seems like a lot.
5. I think it's
probably
3 or
3.
4.
Probably 3.
And then you were stuck there until one of the pledges came and saved you or untrapped you.
Yeah,
right?
but they can give you some sort of like task.
Right, they can give you and it could cross the line, but I never was, and I don't think you were ever in any situations where things crossed the line. Like, no. I think
a lot of it, I will say, a lot of it was drinking related.
Sure.
But for one, it usually happened during like party nights.
Yep.
Like that's usually when people paid the most attention. Let's say.
Sure.
And at least me personally, I never saw a situation where someone was, given some alcoholic beverage to drink, and they're like, no.
Right.
Sometimes they do make it gross.
Sure.
But that's like people enjoy
people
that
do that
stuff.
In general.
Yeah. People are like, hey, dare me to eat this. I mean, dude, when I was in high school, we had like Spirit Week at my school when I was back here in the U.S., And one of the contests we had was an eating contest,
Okay.
and they would always have the sort of the grossest thing at the end. And for one, they brought out a fish bowl with a live goldfish in it and put it on the table.
Somebody
But
probably
then
ate it.
that was just a joke. They brought out like sardines, and you had to eat like a bunch of sardines. But the guy in our grade, Mark Urin, he won the competition, ate all the sardines. Then he took the bowl, chugged down all the water, and swallowed the goldfish live.
Oh no!
No one forced him to do that. No one asked him to do that.
People are weird, man. People are weird. That's for sure.
But then when he was chugging the water, we're all like, joke.
yeah, I'm not surprised. But so as Jared mentioned with getting trapped, you could, if you're an active member, you could also get trapped by the pledges.
Yes.
Which is great.
That's what I meant by I went both ways.
And that's where I think and I mean, obviously the whole
Obviously it's
concept,
harder.
right? And obviously
we don't live there.
and there's less of us too,
Right.
But I think the whole thing with hazing and fraternities is like we've already mentioned, if there's an option out of it, or if it's basically like, are you willing to do this? Like, I would never ask somebody go do this if I wouldn't be cool with it myself.
Right.
You know,
right.
and I think that's a really good way to stay in the lines, still have fun, still do stupid stuff sometimes, you know, and then it's fine. You know, nobody dies of alcohol poisoning.
Ideally.
Right.
Let's continue on with the process.
Okay. So you get your bid, you sign your bid. You know, every fraternity is different as well. So we're only really talking about our experiences here, but you know, every fraternity is different. They might make you, some places might make you sleep over one night a week. Some places might, you know, it's all different. But for us, we had a weekly meeting. And I think that was about it. And then we had to take a test.
Yeah.
You had to pass the test. I'd probably fail it now.
Listen, once again, I don't care. Did I make that clear? Because
Right.
Should we talk about this test and how difficult this test was?
I mean, it wasn't that difficult. It was just about the history of the fraternity.
Okay, that's not what I meant. We got all the answers to it.
Did we?
Yeah,
I was in a different pledge class than you.
that's true, but I thought that was all the classes. They literally...
Well, I think we were given a study guide, for sure.
yeah, okay, that's what we'll call it, everyone.
Well, that's
A
what
study guide.
I mean, is that not what a study guide is?
Study this; it'll guide you to passing this because it's all the answers. I mean,
but
I guess
didn't we have one group not pass one year?
they did, and they got the answers too. We made fun of them for that.
Yeah. So
But they did. Yeah, that is very true.
but
And I
you
think
did-
actually,
but you did have to have that shit memorized. It wasn't like you could roll up with a piece of paper and take the test.
right. But they told us the answers beforehand.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: was this true? A certain percentage of, if a certain percentage failed, then everyone failed.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel like I remember that's what happened with
Exactly.
that one class below us.
And yeah, we definitely did give them shit. I do remember that.
It's like we gave you the
But they
answers.
deserve it. Yeah, if you get the answers, yeah.
But there are a lot of fraternities that would probably even at our school that legitimately made you take the test.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's another thing that attracted me to the one that I joined is not only all my friends from freshman year, my freshman year hall were there, but also it was the most low key pledging process.
Not only that, but I think our fraternity had, you know, every fraternity on different campuses, they have different stereotypes, right? Like, oh, this is the jock frat, you know, these are the theater kids, these are whatever, right? But our fraternity had we were the most hodgepodge, random mix of dudes. We had a bunch. We did have a lot of swimmers. We had a couple dudes on the football team. We had musicians. We had
Criminals
criminals.
of all different sorts.
That's right. All sorts of hooligans.
Yeah.
But that's why I really liked us, was we were seriously such a hodgepodge.
Yeah, that's true. I like that too. And we kind of had our fraternity. I honestly listen. I know this is gonna sound all braggadocious now, but I think the grade above us in our grade really had a huge role in turning it. Like the vibe
did.
before was pretty creepy at our place.
There used to
yeah, go ahead.
used to be a saying at Albion, "No doubt after dark."
Yeah.
And I do think we did change the standing of the fraternity on campus.
I think we also the thing about our fraternity, and I think honestly this is partially what attracted us to it, But was the fact that like it kind of had like a we don't really care about the whole Greek life mentality? Like they never won any of the activities. They never really seemed to care about the activities
until our grades.
Right, and then we won everything.
And that's where we got these shirts actually. After we won Greek Week. For, I think 2 or 3 years in a row.
And we won Anchor Splash as well. Let's get into some of those activities as well.
Let's do it. So
wait, there's more. We'll get into the activities.
Okay.
There's more I want to talk about with the process. We didn't talk about Pledge Day, and we didn't talk about initiation.
Okay, so
Pledge Day happens beforehand. Let's start with that. Pledge Day happens once you sign once everyone signed their bid, and it's sort of like their welcome to the house kind of thing.
Right, and so Pledge Day is, and it's like one Saturday in the spring.
Depends on the semester, but yeah.
That's true. The one in the fall is very low key and relaxed, though. It's completely different because the majority
usually less people.
Right, exactly, and that's why. And so in the spring, the big Pledge Day is a Saturday, and it's funny because if you drove through Albion, you know when it's Pledge Day because there's newspapers on all the windows of all the fraternities because you're not supposed to see what goes on.
It's kind of like a ghost town too. It's kind of creepy.
It is. It is.
It's oddly quiet,
right,
for what's happening,
right. And so I remember we had a scavenger hunt. Obviously, there were some drinking activities. There was nap time in the middle of the day. We got a bunch of pizza. I have never seen so many boxes of pizza.
And it got devoured.
It did. It was gone. It was gone real quick. And then after that evening, you would meet with the active members and sit and chill and have a drink with them. I think each of their rooms had different. Oh yeah,
you had like rotations.
Yeah, which was really cool.
Yeah,
and a lot of
like
fun.
welcome essentially.
Right, and then after that, then I think after 11 or 12. The fraternities open their door and people start coming over.
Then it turned normal again.
Right.
So then you go through all the pledge process we talked about, and then
you take the test.
You take the test, and if you're not an idiot, you'll pass it because we give you the answers. At least we did. Right. And then you get initiated, and that's when they make it seem like you're in some sort of Da Vinci Code-esque Illuminati. Which is
pretty cool. I kind of liked it. I don't know if you liked it. I really liked it. And so initiation is where you have it. Well, it's either some places called initiation, some places it's called ritual. Depends on the fraternity.
Right. Yeah.
And you at least we wore, I think, a suit and tie
and no shoes. Remember,
no shoes. I don't know if I don't know if we're allowed to say this shit, man.
And then
you don't care. I care. You don't care.
And then would they let us? They blindfolded us. This is not going to get weird, by the way. They
there was no weird stuff.
They blindfolded us and led us into the basement, and then they ran through all of the spiel.
Yep. Yeah. Which was cool though, and I like initiation because it.
I love how nervous you still are to talk about this.
I am because
who's going to come get
seriously?
You? There's no sort of police, fraternal police.
I'm gonna get a knock on my door at my apartment in China. Sorry, you've been excommunicated from the fraternity.
It's like a CIA agent surrounded by a bunch of local Chinese police officers. Sir, please come with us.
Right. But yeah, well, I guess the reason why though I do take some of this stuff seriously is that is what bonds a fraternity together. Is these things you learn about in initiation that you know about the fraternity that nobody else knows about.
Yeah, I think why I still kind of laugh at that stuff is because it is sort of that school spirit thing that I kind of fight a little bit.
That's true.
Where it's and it's I understand what they're trying to do in the brotherhood, and I understand all of that, but just that whole sort of secrecy,
right?
And really none of we don't have any at least personally. They told us secrets within our fraternity, but they didn't tell us all right, now that you're in, we can tell you about who actually killed JFK.
Right? Oh man, that would be wild. But so then you have initiation, and then you are an active member of the fraternity, and you and then the next semester usually is when you move into the house.
Yeah.
Usually, at least where we went. Some places I know at MSU they have so many members that they can't all live in the house. So I think you're required at MSU to live in the house for 1 semester or something like that. Because most of them just don't have the sheer space to house everybody. And it really depends. But yeah, it's really fun though. I mean, it's a wild ride. I would say though, really make sure, do you have the time and the energy and the effort to do some of the stuff you're going to have to do? Do you feel comfortable with these guys? And do you trust them enough where you think, okay, if something were to go wrong, they would have my back? And I have to say, at our fraternity, I always felt comfortable and confident that if anything would have ever gotten out of hand, all my brothers would have had my back, hands down. I was never worried about that.
Okay.
And
there were a couple I was I don't know about you.
Well, it's like that everywhere. It's like that everywhere. But yeah. So, I mean, fraternities aren't for everybody, but, if you feel comfortable and confident about the brothers there, or sororities for that matter, too, I think it can be a great opportunity. We had a lot of fun.
Speaking of having a lot of fun, let's talk about some of the activities.
Okay. Yeah, Greek life. Greek week. Yeah, so we had Anchor Splash. You want to explain that?
Anchor Splash was put on by Delta Gamma,
Which is a sorority at Albion.
Yeah. Every sort of, or not every, but most of the sororities or fraternities had their own sort of special activity that they put on for the campus. Some sort of active activity, whether it was a competition or a show of some sort.
Right.
And so Anchor Splash was a synchronized dance routine. Part of it had to be like a dance routine in front of the pool, so not actually in the pool or dancing on. And then you jump into the pool somehow and do some sort of synchronized dance routine. And it got pretty intense. I mean, like
It really did.
It was so funny too, like planning out the flips, because you gotta have flips. Listen, especially like if you want to win, you gotta have flips.
Oh,
and so like planning out the flips and like actually planning out the routines. Honestly, I was kind of impressed at the level of choreography that went into some of this. So we'll talk about some of the other activities. But so that was mock rock, and then it was like fraternities versus each other and sororities versus each other. So there were 2 winners at the end.
Yep.
And that one was fun. It was a lot of fun. But I hated the like we had to get up super early in the morning.
Yep.
It was in winter, so it was cold outside. We had to walk in winter to the swimming pool at like 6 or 6:30 in the morning to practice for an hour before class started, or an hour or something like that. That I hated. And every year that I did that, I wanted to not do it, but I got guilted into it somehow or another.
There you go.
But how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, it's fine.
You weren't a huge fan of it.
Yeah, it was.
Did you ever do it?
I did not.
Oh,
I did not do it. No.
So why did you not do it?
I didn't do it because I had to do detailing in the music department every morning before
What's
class.
detailing?
I had to basically clean the classrooms before class.
So you had to work. That's why you didn't do it.
Yep. So I was still getting up early.
Did you miss not being able to do it? Did you wish you could do it?
In hindsight, definitely at the
FOMO?
Yeah, but at the time, I was happy I was making a little money. Being a poor college student, I was trying to get those dollar bills, my man.
You were hustling, too.
I was. I worked 3 jobs my senior year at Albion. It was crazy. But yeah, anyways.
So that's Anchor Splash.
So yeah, so we had Anchor Splash, Mock Rock, and then Greek Week.
You never talked about Mock Rock. You just blew past Mock Rock.
Didn't you talk about it? Or
no, Mock Rock was the other dance-related one, and that was not put on by any fraternity or sorority. That was sort of like a representatives from each Greek organization came together and organized this activity, and that was there were 6 fraternities and 5 sororities, and so each of them paired up. Each sorority and fraternity paired up, and then one fraternity did a solo routine, and they put on a dance routine in one of our gyms at our school. And then it was...
those are a lot of fun to watch.
Those are a lot of fun to watch, too. And that was the other example I was getting at of kind of impressive at the level of sort of... the level of choreography that was put into it. Something that I still never fully recognized the amount of work that I put into it was also the mashing up of the music.
Yeah.
Like someone actually had to put together the music and cut it together. There's no playlist cut that's perfectly like you have to put that together.
Right.
And I was like, who's doing this?
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's legitimate work.
Right. And then other than that, we also had Greek Week, which was a bunch of different events.
Greek Week led up to Mock Rock.
That's right. Yeah, Mock Rock was a big finale.
Yes.
Yes. And so I remember senior year though, I participated in the tug of war, and that was fun. I was honestly really surprised.
Scavenger hunt. There was a scavenger hunt as well.
Was good. Yeah, I was surprised though. I was asked to do the tug of war, and it was only because I was hitting the gym 6 days a week at the time.
I love how Chad's gonna throw in a subtle brag here. He's like, but let's go back to the tug of war.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I mean, you were lifting pretty hard in college.
Yeah, I was. I don't know what happened, man. I don't know what happened.
What do you mean? How you fell out of it?
Yeah, I just don't lift. Anyways, we're not talking about that today. But
seems like you wanted to, Chad. Let's talk about how ripped I was and I'm honored that I was one of the strongest people in our fraternity.
But it was fun though.
No one asked me, by the way, if you were wondering. It never came up.
If there were been a soccer game, Jared, you would have been my first pick.
Oh, thank you. Sure. But there was also the scavenger hunt. That was a lot of fun. and you like get like clues given to you periodically through email or something like that, and
Right.
then there'll be like someone at the house, like, you know, looking up answers to it, and then like telling people where to go on campus.
Right.
There was, what else was there for Greek Week?
I'm trying to remember. I think there were 3 or 4 events.
I also remember now. This is not related to Greek Week, but there was also Turkey Trot, which I never did, but that was like a 5K, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
Brad won it one year. Shout out to Brad, my roommate.
Not surprised.
There was also, that was actually really annoying because I still never hear the end of it.
I'm sure.
And then there was also what was the one that AKIO did, that dance competition?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember what that was
yeah.
either. I never did that.
Now, I have to say one of my favorite things that we did was the Delt Demolition Derby, where we bought
Yes,
that.
I never participated in that.
I was working once again. I was working, but during homecoming,
Every day I'm hustling.
that's right. During homecoming, we had got a car from like a junkyard.
Yeah.
And I think it was like $5 or $10 to swing. You got a certain number of swings with a sledgehammer,
Or a baseball
on the
bat.
car, or baseball
Or
bat.
I think there was also might have been a golf club
golf
too.
club. Should have given a spatula.
You get to
too,
like
just for
choose
shits
your.
and gigs.
What would that? Oh, for
Wouldn't
like
do anything.
Maybe
That's
for like
why it'd be funny.
15 cents or something.
Right. But yeah, that was really cool. We spray painted the car as well.
Yeah. Kicked it. You like people were jumping on
right.
the roof.
I bet you if we peruse Facebook, we can find a couple gems to pop on the.
Oh, for
Instagram.
sure. Oh, speaking of which, there was also the. This was like at the beginning of the school year. There was also the flag football.
Oh, that's
Tournament.
right. Yeah,
That was a lot of fun.
that was a lot of fun. You're right. So yeah, there's a lot of great things going on with fraternities and sororities. I have to say, obviously, the party life is a big one, and the key to party life, Jared, is the music.
Okay.
So why don't we talk about our song of the pod today?
All right.
We tried to
Betcha.
find some music that would kind of bring back some memories of what it was like, at least for me. I don't know about you.
But keep in mind, this is the Untranslatable podcast, so
That's
we
right.
try our hardest, and we're committed to not just bringing a bunch of American artists.
That's right. And so today we are going to talk about the Spanish version of Bailando by Enrique Iglesias featuring Decima Bueno and Gente de Zona.
Gente.
And it's a great song. It makes you want to get up and dance. Bailando means, I believe, we dance. Or no, that's bailamos. Bailando just means dance. or to
Dancing,
dance?
maybe?
Or dancing.
I don't know.
Dancing. I think you're right. And it's just got a great rhythm to it. Some nice little nylon acoustic guitar to it. Just makes you want to dance. And this song, other than it being in Spanish, we'd probably have the English version in our frat, but it sounds like something
Bailando.
sounds like something you would hear at a party.
Yeah.
And it's a great song. It came out in 2014, so it's been out for a while, but it's absolutely fantastic.
What did you think of the frat parties at Albion College?
I loved them.
Really?
I loved them.
It's interesting.
Too much fun.
I think I did you really?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I loved them. They were great.
I was not expecting that answer. I actually think I went to less parties when I joined the
You joined
fraternity.
the fraternity.
I think I
because
spent a
you
lot
could
more
just
time
party
in my
your room.
Right. Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. And also, I think there's something really disturbing to me about the dance floor of a fraternity.
That's fair.
It's a very disturbing
weird place.
It's a weird vibe.
right.
It's a weird predatory thing. There's a lot
can
of this
get a little
sneaking up.
weird,
It's not
yeah.
sneaking up, but just like dancing on someone without
Right.
asking.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
And people, for the most part, and at least at our school, no one was really a good dancer, you know?
Speak for yourself. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not a good
Like, they
dancer,
might have
but-
been good at, like, you know, doing the dancing that people do in college where they rub their
Right.
butts up against you.
All right.
But they're not actually, like, no one's actually, like, you're not, like, seeing dancers like, whoa, like,
Right.
step up 3.
That's true. That'd be something to see, wouldn't it? But yeah, this is just a great song. Has some good vibes. And check it out. Bailando by Enrique Iglesias. We'll have it up on our Twitter, Untranslatable One,
You betcha.
and our YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast. So
Yes.
yeah. So we hope you've gained some insight into the world of fraternities in America. But I have an interesting German word for you today, Jared. And it
Have you started? You know what you should do?
What?
Soon you're gonna have Chinese words of the
I
pod.
am.
Now, in where you're gonna be, in Jinan,
Jinan.
do they speak Mandarin?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they have their own dialect as well.
Right.
I've heard it's very difficult to understand. But anyways,
More difficult than other dialects in China.
yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm not so sure about that.
Have you
We'll
been
see.
stockpiling? Are you gonna stockpile beforehand? You're not that well over prepared. Never mind.
No. Anyways, my German word though for today
You didn't even
is
try to pretend like you were going. You're
Nope.
like, nope.
Hey, I try to be honest with you and our listeners out there. That's for sure. So my German word, though, for you today is die Mensur. Do you know what Mensur is?
Mensur. No. Doesn't even sound German.
So Mensur.
How do you spell that?
Mensur. Mensur.
Okay.
And Mensur is
Sounds like a last name.
It kind of does, doesn't it? But Mensur is basically a fencing match in fraternities in Germany. So they do have some fraternities in Germany, and they'll have this like kind of fencing match, but it's with a sharpened blade, so you can get cut. And so it's what they would do to kind of be initiated. And not only Germany. We have Germany, Austria, Switzerland. Also in some places.
This seems like a really bad idea.
Well, there are a lot of bad ideas associated with fraternities, unfortunately.
Wait, so they actually have sword fights?
Yeah. I think
this
traditionally
is like
they did. I don't know if they still do.
Right, initiation kind of thing?
Exactly.
I meant to actually talk about fraternities in different countries.
We can do that another episode.
Right, I did notice you cut me off. I wasn't done.
Yeah, I figured you
would.
But hey, we got to stick to our time, Jared.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, so that's my German word of the pod, Mensur, which is like a traditional fencing initiation in fraternities in Europe.
Now, today, my Spanish word of the pod is more of a Spanish phrase of the pod, but it is apropos to this episode.
Nice.
Hacer nobatadas, like on someone. So you would like do this, to someone essentially.
So that's to like invite.
Hacer nobatados, tadas is not to invite.
What is it?
To haze.
Oh, that sadly is very apropos to a lot of Greek life out there, unfortunately. But yeah. I think a lot of fraternities and Greek life in general gets a bad rep because it's not all. I mean, granted, yes, there are some bad ones. Don't get me wrong, and there people have died of alcohol poisoning in fraternities and sororities.
Yeah, no, that's very real. That happened at Temple's campus right before I left.
Right. So. But I will also say that there's a lot of good. And the fraternities and sororities do a lot of times donate to some type of,
everyone sort of has like a charity that they,
exactly.
Ours was the, I believe it was the
JDRF.
Juvenile Diabetes Relief Foundation.
Something like that, yeah.
Do you put your fraternity on your resume?
I actually used to because I was the member educator. You were in the fraternity when I was a member educator, weren't you, or no?
You weren't educating me. You weren't my...
No. I don't mean... No, I wasn't a pledge educator. I was the member educator.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
So I spoke at meetings.
That was hilarious.
So that was fun. I always really enjoyed it. So, yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, like during the meetings, you'd
I'd
have like a story about...
spiel or story about the history of the fraternity and what it means to us. And, yeah, I always really enjoyed that. It was great. I used to have it on my resume right after I graduated undergrad. Now I don't.
I think I might still have it on my resume. I actually have my computer in front of me. I could tell you.
I don't though. Anymore.
I was the house improvement chair, and the one thing I did in the entire semester was get us a new ping pong table that then was broken immediately because that's what happens whenever we get nice things in fraternities.
Oh, that's true. I had a lot of fun playing ping pong though in the fraternity.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Got to beat on some children.
I did.
All these confident kids that think they could beat you just because they had a table in their basement growing up.
Still waiting for you, Don Strite.
Oh, yeah.
You heard it.
Yeah.
That's right.
You betcha.
But yeah, so we hope you have gained some insight into Greek life and what it's like to join a fraternity and whether or not you should, or if you were just curious. And I think to end the quote of the pod here, I think honestly the best part about a fraternity is just being able to live with your buddies. I mean, I really enjoyed the fact that, I could go downstairs and have dinner with you, or be able to just sit around the TV with my brothers and, goof around or watch like Price is Right. We watch it almost
a lot
every
of Price
morning.
is Right. A lot of Jerry Springer.
Yep. Cartoons on Saturday or Sunday mornings, I think.
Yeah. How nice was that though to come back from class and sit down for lunch and everyone's already like screaming at the TV at Jerry Springer or Price is Right. I loved it. It was that brotherhood thing. It sounds kind of cheesy. I even hate to talk about it like that.
But it's true.
But it is real, especially when you live around these people for years and you learn how people interact and how you feel about people.
Right.
Are you on Twitter?
I am.
You don't pay close attention to it.
I don't.
Did you happen to see two of our fraternity brothers were having a heated political debate?
I did.
And that went on like all day on Friday.
I believe it. I believe it.
I was talking to Brad about it, and I was like, dude, I saw this morning, and I just checked at 7, and blah, 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 just responded. This is good. I didn't read it all because it was too much, but I was like...
It's a lot of threads.
Does anyone think... Does anyone think this is productive? And I was joking to Brad about how I was like, just two dads arguing on...
Right. Yeah,
it's like so weird to see like these adult men having this political debate back and forth.
But hey, it's a great place if you
civilized,
live with your buddies.
I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode today and gleaned a little insight on Greek life and fraternities in the United States. And we'll have to do one about fraternities around the world at some point as well.
You betcha.
And let us know what you thought about this episode. You can slide into our DMs, Untranslatable1 on Twitter, Untranslatable Podcast on Instagram. I'm sure we can find some good fraternity pics to pop up there as well.
You betcha.
And lastly, please let us know what we could do to improve this podcast for you by giving us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. The ideal number would be 5 stars, and we would really appreciate it. So, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme, muchas gracias, and shusha.